I propose a new tariff on his mount. Every time he lied, he gotta pay us. That'll get us
a new stimmy.
A stimmy for everybody.
I refuse to believe that, they're just ignorant and they don't know what it really is. No, they know exactly what they're saying. And they know what they're doing. And it's up to us citizens to not allow it.
To fight back.
Because if you allow them to take due process away from people who it's their right, then it's your right too.
That they're taking away.
And they're going to take it away from you too.
The first step is to just stop giving a fuck.
Y'all better start sharing. Donald Trump done said y'all gotta share the damn pencil.
Oh, and I'll say it again in case you didn't see it. Fuck you, bitch.
Welcome back to the Pragmotiv podcast, where every week we tell it like it is and get you motivated to be the change you seek. It's your boy Trey.
It's Cameron.
And Steph.
Welcome to episode 3. So today's theme, y'all, is you're not a failure. So many people today have been asking themselves, am I a failure? Does the current state of your life make you constantly question your choices? Do you feel as though you are grinding but still can't get ahead? Are you unconsciously constantly comparing yourselves to others? This is what we will be diving into today.
So sometimes I feel like I'm on like a hamster wheel, just running after the things I'm trying to accomplish, you know. But I do keep reminding myself that to keep the faith, to keep pushing, keep working towards what, you know, I'm trying to get to. But, you know, it gets hard. It does get hard. But for y'all's generation, I really think it's harder than it was for our generation.
I definitely feel like, at least for me, it's like you get the courage to do something like start a business, and then you try to do everything you can do. And with me, it's been, I see success, a little bit of a success, but not what I imagined or what I want. And then I end up pivoting and I have to start over again with something different in a different industry, a different field. And that's what I, at my big old age of 31 right now, don't want to do anymore.
So clarify that. So what do you mean by you end up pivoting? Are you pivoting because you see that the path you was on isn't going to bring you to where you're trying to go?
Well, I think things change. Like for me, it was technology. So starting a web business. When we started it at 13, when I was 13. So that was back in what? 2008. Things were a lot different. Like that was before even the big WordPress boom, where everyone was doing CMSs. So that before WordPress, everything was hard coded. Well, now you tell ChatGPT to code a website for you, and it'll do the HTML and the CSS.
Right.
So there's no need. I still think that I don't want to say there's no need for web developers.
Right.
Because there still is. You still need that human touch to really make it come out the way that you would want it. As a business owner or as a person who, you know, maybe you're a brand and you want a website, but ChatGPT takes a lot of what would be my billable hours away.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's happening across so many different industries. So if I used to be able to charge, I don't know, 80 hours to do a website, and now I can only charge 10, well, that's not a livable
It's
wage.
not feasible.
And
Right.
even if I was able to still charge for 80 hours, with the way prices are right now, that's not livable. So we have a problem with the system, I feel. And, you know, when I was growing up, the thing was go to school. Do good in school, go to college, get a degree.
Which is the same thing when I was growing up. You do well in high school, you go on to college, you do well in college, and then you come out, and whatever your chosen career is, you get a job in that career. And you know, my expectations for myself, and I know that was your daddy's expectations. When we met at age 17, we were looking at going to school, getting a degree, and you know, in our career, whatever subject or whatever we were studying in college, and having that career for as long as my parents had their career. Your grandfather was a teacher, a college professor for 42 years. Your granny was a social worker from the 60s through the 90s. So, I mean, but that's changed now. It's nothing, it's very few
and I feel
careers
like back
that you
then,
have that
when you
span
would
that
work,
amount of time.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but back then, if you had a quote full-time job, that job would provide you, for the most part, with housing, with transportation, with food.
I mean, it went from, I guess, back to in the 50s of being like a one income household for a lot of Americans to, you know, a 2-income household where the both the parents worked. And then you had the advent of maybe people weren't married, or maybe they were divorced, or maybe, you know, it was a 1-parent household, and that parent may have had 2 jobs, you know. So it's like it went from one person being able to provide for the family to needing 2 incomes, and then it progressively over the decades getting harder to sustain a family without having a job on the side, having a business on the side. And that's the way it still is. It's like, I don't know anybody who's making
Even if you have
ends
2
meet
incomes.
with a family
Yeah.
on 1 income. It's very few people,
I don't think,
or careers, or
that's definitely not the
industries
norm.
where you can have a job that can do that. And I don't know. It's just, they say that unemployment is at X amount of percentage, but I know people with CPA degrees that don't have CPA certification that don't have jobs, or having a hard time getting a job. So it's just crazy. The actual lived experience don't seem to match the numbers that is
and where are they getting these numbers? That's what I want to know, because it's not what we're feeling on the ground.
Right. That's what I'm trying to say.
And that hasn't been what we have been feeling for years
now. It's not, you know, it's not jibing with what the lived experience is.
Even before Joe Biden was elected, it wasn't what we was feeling. So I feel like as a whole, let's go out of politics, away from Republican versus Democrat, this Republican president versus Democratic president. People as a whole feel like our system isn't working, and we need to find a system that is going to work. I'm not saying to drastically change the system, because I definitely think the fundamentals of our American experiment is definitely the best.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Because you know, look at us. We decided we were going to start a podcast, and we didn't have to ask permission to do that.
Right.
And that is innately American. And I love that about our country. But it is hard. it takes a lot of freaking money
Yeah.
to be able to do this
Yep.
shit. So
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, on one hand, you don't have to ask permission to do shit, but on the other hand, you got to have permission to do it because you need to have the money.
Right.
And you could come up with an idea, but that's just the beginning of what's a long journey in whatever it is that you're deciding that you want to do.
Right.
Because it takes dedication, it takes hard work, but it takes money to do anything.
And do y'all feel like it's hard to stay motivated? And are you constantly comparing, like you was asking at the beginning?
Yes.
Constantly comparing yourself
Yeah.
to other people?
So
Even I do that. I think that's just a human.
yeah, and that's what I was
reaction to stuff.
wondering if, and that's in the next block. Once we get started, because the next block is talking about social media. So you know what? I'll just save that right quick for the next one. But before we move on out of the intro here, I wanted to touch on this this PBS Frontline series that I watched, and I still haven't been able to show it to you. I've been telling you about it. I think I watched it a few months
Yeah,
ago.
we were supposed to look at it. I'm gonna look at it, but
And I don't think I showed it to you either, Cam. And they followed these two families, a white family and a black family, from like 1992 all the way to 2013. So that was, correct me if I'm wrong, because I know you know. That was George H.W. Bush.
George H.W. Bush. Clinton was elected in 1992.
Okay.
And then Clinton, 1993 to 2001.
Okay.
And then Bush, 2001 to 2009. And then Barack's entire first term, 2009 to 2013.
So they followed this family, and I guess they started talking to the family, if I'm remembering correctly, like during the election cycle. And they were excited about what Bill Clinton was talking about. At least one of the families was. And they was like, we're hoping that he could bring some change to Milwaukee. And this is where they were. And basically, what was kind of depressing about the series is that it followed them for all of these years, and their plights didn't change. Even though these candidates ran for president and they ran on different messages, of course. Obviously, we know the message. I mean, I don't really know what George H.W. Bush ran on. I'm assuming it was just a continuation of Reagan.
I'd have to refresh my memory.
Because he was Reagan's vice president.
Yeah, it was a continuation of the trickle-down economics.
Yeah. So, and then you had Bill Clinton run. I'm sure his was like a total, let's do
the
change.
country was wrecked with inflation around that time.
I mean, the theme song for the night he won on the podium was "Don't Stop Thinking About Tomorrow."
Okay.
And then it was very exciting.
Yeah.
It was an exciting
So that was
time.
the mood in the country.
Yeah, people were looking forward to his presidency, and at least that was the mood. That's the way I remember it.
Okay. And then you had 8 years of Clinton, and then you had George W. Bush, and you had 8 years of him, and nothing changed for these families. So you've had the different parties, you had different approaches to the problem, and nothing changed. And I think that is why you ended up with Donald Trump in 2016. Because people are just like, well, we done tried this, we done tried that, and that didn't work. So maybe we need someone to burn it all down, which definitely is not the answer.
No.
That's
Not
never
at all.
the problem when things don't work, is let me punch it. It's not an old 1990s TV.
Yeah.
I mean, when you keep having trouble with your car, I mean, you change cars. You don't, I mean, that might not be a good analogy.
Yeah, not really. I mean, you don't really
you know
change
what I'm saying?
cars, but
you fix
you
it.
fix it. You don't just kick it.
No.
And think that's gonna that's gonna fix it.
That's gonna.
So, but I understand is what I'm saying. I could sympathize.
Yeah,
a little
believe
bit
it or not,
with how people are feeling.
In the 2016 presidential election, there was a lot of Obama Trump voters.
Yeah, which I just
Oh,
did
yeah.
not understand.
Yeah, that was a real revelation to me too. It's like I didn't
So they
understand,
voted
but
for Obama.
it's and swung all the way to the other side. Why?
Those voters is why we had not only the Rust Belt, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, but they're the same people that voted in Iowa for Barack. And we had Iowa, Ohio, Florida, and they contributed to Barack's 2012 332 electoral vote win.
Mm-hmm.
But then when Trump came and he was talking about all of this, he's
Fix
an
it.
outside candidate. He's going.
I
Yeah.
alone can fix it.
They swung all the way to him, and they haven't come back. I think that if somebody had the right candidate to actually say what needs to be said and do what needs to be done, that those voters will feel better, that their plights will actually change.
And what I wonder and what I wish somebody would track is how many of those Obama to Trump voters in 2016 was Trump voters again in 2020, or did they switch back to Biden, or did they sit out? And did they sit out this time in 24?
I think this is just what I feel. I don't have any real data to back this up, but this is just what I feel.
Well, join the party. That's what everyone else doing.
Yeah. So some people probably set out. There's a big block of people in this country that does not vote. And then you have the real hardline MAGA people who bought into the Kool-Aid that Trump was selling and is now hardcore MAGA, okay with the fascism, okay with the racism. And then there's the independent voters who I think could be more informed.
Mm-hmm.
And if they were more informed, they probably wouldn't vote that way, but they do it anyway.
Yeah.
So it's just blocks of voters that we need to reach.
And that's what I'm working on for my next article for pragmotivplus.com, is really trying to get at the crux of why people are not voting.
Yeah.
Why aren't they motivated? Why aren't they engaged? Because for me, I'm like, this shit is more important than ever. And like I said in the last episode, they don't have to convince me to go to the polls, because I'm going to make sure you know how the fuck I feel about everything.
Yeah, but I think that the apathy that we're seeing is because people don't feel like things are working for them. They're frustrated and they're disillusioned.
Yeah.
Yeah, it also could be like they don't know who to vote for.
Yeah.
They don't trust because people and the current corruption that's going on, and sometimes on both sides. It's not just on one side.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the messaging, I feel, which that's another thing we're getting into today, is about the messaging that the Democratic Party has had, the messaging that seems to work for the Republicans, which why does that work? I don't even begin
that's
to understand.
that's such a phenomenon. But I do think it's because people feel that they are just grinding themselves to a pulp and they're not getting anywhere. And so they just want things to work for them. And a lot of people may feel like they're a failure. A lot of people may definitely feel like the country or the American system or whatever is failing them.
Mm-hmm. And a large majority of us don't want anything spectacular.
No, you
wanna
just want to be able to eat and pay your bills.
Have lights.
All
Right.
I want,
You don't
And
want to have
because
to
it's
worry
so damn hot down here in
about
Louisiana right now,
buying your
have damn
medicine.
air conditioning.
all I want is a house with air conditioning and just make enough money to splurge and afford a car note on a Hellcat. That's all I want.
Just a side note, can you believe just a few weeks ago, what was it like? Maybe 7 weeks ago, it was freaking snowing.
No,
And now it's like 89 degrees outside.
it's climate change for you.
Yeah.
All right, so
It's not, just so people can know, it's not just oh, the earth is getting warmer. No, the seasons are getting more extreme. It just fucking snowed here in Louisiana.
And it snowed.
That was snow.
It wasn't drop.
That was fucking.
You see it in the sky, and when it hit the ground, it melt. That was like you go outside and build a snowman.
Clouds. That was I just watched the city put down new reflectors in the middle of the lanes, and now they all gone because we had to plow the shit.
And it
Lord knows
like
when they're gonna put them back.
It was snow halfway up my leg. So yeah, the seasons are getting crazier, and hurricanes are gonna be more damaging.
Oh, don't mention hurricane season.
Just look at old Crooked Eye in Arkansas.
Look, this mic in my way. As a side note, y'all, I'm trying to get used to this because the last episode I was trying to talk to y'all, and this thing was way over here.
And look, and I'm constantly having to adjust mine.
Oh man,
so
we getting there, y'all. We
gonna
getting
get the
there.
hang of it.
All right, so is social media a drug? So a lot of people have been asking this question. I've been hearing a lot about it lately, and it really has got me to thinking, is it?
What's that saying? It might not be a drug, but it's wearing a drug uniform.
So it's
are the first, like a drug.
We're the first generation with social media, and there seems to be a huge problem in our generation with comparing ourselves to others. So there I go again. So how can we stop it? And is it harmful? Do y'all think it's harmful? I do.
Yeah, it's harmful.
Did that exist before
harmful.
social media? Did people compare themselves to each other?
Just in their friend group, like they would have, the most popular person in school. Oh, I wish I could be
because
that
it wasn't such instant information coming at you from everywhere.
But
now you got all these
one side of the
influencers.
country or even one side of the world to the other.
Yeah, you just seeing everything on social media, and
that
it's
person
at
has
your
a Lambo.
fingertips.
I want a Lambo.
so it makes you compare. Like, why don't I have
a Lambo?
What's wrong with me? Well, nothing's wrong with you.
For me, even though I had seen, like we had just talked about, what a lot of people would deem to be success, having had a business, having clients and stuff. Like as a teenager, that's crazy to have that. But when I got to my 20s, I found myself being very unhappy. I found myself wanting to do something different. Like that season was behind me. And I spent the latter part of my 20s feeling very depressed. I now know it was depression. My depression manifested in a different way. It wasn't like a textbook depression of what my stereotype in my head was of depression. Because I thought depression was, I can't get out of bed. I don't want to eat anything. I just don't want to be around people. But that's not how it was for me. For me, it was more, I'm exhausted all the time and don't know why. Everything I try to do, when I think about it, it feels like
so monumental.
I got to go to the store today. Oh my God. That's how I was feeling. I have to do this for this client. So the thing that I ended up tying that to, a part of the thing that was contributing to that I found out, was that I was looking at other people who were my age, who was able to buy themselves a house, buy their parents a house, have cars. Not saying that these are things that motivate me, because I'm not a materialistic person, but just me struggling financially the way that I was, and trying to run a business, dealing with the things that we had to deal with, especially like with COVID, when that came around, it was a very weird time because a lot of industries were shutting down. And innately, I'm like, okay, I'm an online business. This isn't going to affect me. But who are my clients? A lot of people who have in-person businesses. So, of course, it was going to affect me, but I didn't realize that at the time. So, as that started happening and clients started falling off because they was going out of business, it really started to get
Alarming.
and scary. And I didn't want to do that anymore. I wanted to do something different, but I didn't have the confidence to do what I really wanted to do, which was to go on YouTube and start YouTube. And I was comparing myself to everyone else I was seeing. Oh, well, I would start YouTube, but I'm not fit enough, you know. I don't think people would like to see me because I'm overweight. Or I want to start this, but I have, you know, my health conditions. So will I be able to keep up with it? It was all of this doubt that made me feel like I was a failure. When in actuality, no, I was winning. I just wasn't winning in the same way other people was winning. And then the realization, especially once I ended up starting YouTube years later, you see that stories can be weaved. You can create a vision how you want to create it. So some of the people, half the people we looking at on social media don't really live the lives that
it's a curated type of
that we think they live.
persona a lot of times. Sometimes it's accurate.
Yeah.
But a lot of times
most
it
times it's not.
Yeah.
And this is what we spend our time feeling sorry, you know, scrolling on our phones, looking and being like, oh, damn, I wish I was like this person. When that person is not like that person.
Yeah, it's all a character.
Yeah, it's I think people have to remember that they are on their own path. You're on your own journey.
Mm-hmm.
And what you're experiencing is unique. So you just have to figure out what's the best path for you to take.
Yeah.
What worked for somebody else may not work for you, and what didn't work for somebody else may work for you. You know, so you just have to decide what it is that you want and then figure out how to get what you want.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's the way I think it is for every goal.
Yeah.
And you may not reach it immediately. Nothing happens overnight. The overnight stuff is just a myth.
And that's something that this generation, and I say this generation, I mean millennial like me and Gen Z like Cam, I think we have really bad. But I also think...
And why do you think that is, though?
I think because we've come up in a time where things are instantaneous. Information is instant.
Information at your fingertips. Everything is instant.
Whatever you want.
I can... Yeah.
And now, even in the latter part, like the latter part of my 20s, like I turned 20 in 2014. So even like at the beginning of that, I don't even remember, at least it wasn't in our part of the world, the country rather, DoorDash and all of that stuff. We didn't have this stuff. So now the fact that you could order your groceries and you don't have to go shopping, you could order your food to your door.
This is just the age of instant gratification.
Yeah. You could just get whatever you want to get. But the only thing we can't instantly gratify is making money.
Yeah.
That's something that you constantly hear about in all of the music we listen to. You see it in the shows that we watch. You see it on social media. Everybody talking about getting that money, getting that money.
Getting
and
that bag, that money.
And when you have trouble making money,
then you feel like
well,
something
what the fuck is wrong with me?
And nothing in the fuck is wrong with you.
Nothing is wrong.
It's just that is a skewed type of feed into your brain. If you're seeing it, and you're hearing that in the music you listen to, it's a programming type of thing that's going on where, you know, so-and-so is talking about the billions that they have or the millions that they have. They may not have. Half these people that's talking about, they have money. They don't have that kind of money.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to...
And you should pursue what makes you happy, not money.
Yeah. And if you want to do what they do, the first step is to just stop giving a fuck. Do what I decided to do. Oh, I'm big. Okay, and it ain't nothing I ain't heard already. Oh, it ain't nothing that
You
I
ain't
can't
saying
see.
nothing that ain't obvious.
Yeah, like I go to the mirror and be like, I'm skinty. No, I know I ain't, and guess what? I don't give a fuck. I don't.
Got me hitting this damn mic
Well,
with my face.
I
How do
don't
I
think
get
that's
used to
accurate,
this?
Cameron. You do give a fuck.
I give a fuck a little bit to not come out here with my hair all crazy.
No. That's not what I mean. I mean, you give a fuck about your health, but you
Well,
don't give a
yeah,
fuck about what people
obviously,
think
but I
about you,
don't
because what
give
they
a
think
fuck.
about you don't fucking matter.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck what they say, what they would say. And then I notice how when you say something about somebody and they can't really counter it, so they go
Go to how you look.
to how you look. Like, bitch, like I didn't know that.
Well, how you look, Mr. No Profile Picture?
Yeah, this one motherfucker decided he was gonna comment that to me when I was talking about Trump ass or somebody on social media, and he said, "Well, you need to stop worrying about Trump and start worrying about them chins or something." He said,
The double chins or whatever.
and I said, "Bitch,
Okay,
how
bitch.
you gonna come on here talking about me when you ain't got no profile picture?" Oh wait, I know. Because your ass, your real ugly ass, will probably break Instagram servers.
You gotta have them comebacks.
And
I
that's
love
what
the
I had
fact
to
that Cameron
learn.
can come back. I absolutely
Because
love it.
I wasn't always like this. When
No,
I
was just
cared.
about to say that.
When I cared too much about what everybody said and what everybody felt about me, especially when I was in school.
Yeah, but you was a child and you was bullied, and that was wrong.
Yeah, I was a child
Yeah.
and I was bullied. But when I stopped giving a fuck, when I stopped caring, that's when the Cameron today was born. And the Cameron today don't put up with that shit. I don't even let that shit in my mind. And I'm saying all this to say, you have to adopt that sort of mentality. And if you want to do the things that's making a lot of money, like being an influencer, if you want to do
Or
that,
if you want to do,
if you want to
just do whatever makes you happy.
do whatever makes you
Sometimes it
happy.
requires you to
And-
step over your fear.
and you have to step over your fear and do
Well,
whatever
all the
it
time
takes.
requires you to step over. your
Yeah, all the time.
fear. Right.
And Lord knows there was a lot of fear in me just picking up the camera in the first place last year to start YouTube. And there was a lot of fear for us just to start this podcast and a lot of unknowns. And many days I was like, how is it this involved? But anything worth doing is
It's
going to
gonna be
require
hard,
sacrifice and
but
require
anything
a lot
worth
of work.
doing is worth doing right. That's
And
the bottom line.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I'm not going to do nothing that ain't right. That's
Nah.
probably my fallacy.
We don't do
We
half-ass
don't,
shit.
we don't half-ass nothing. We do it to the max.
So,
I mean,
talking
what
about
other podcasts got these graphics?
talking about social media, do we think they're making it addictive?
Oh,
How many
yeah.
of us get up? Like me, I get up in the morning, and the first thing I do is I start with Apple News. But that's just me being forcing myself to do that so that I don't be like the first thing I reach for social media. But after I read the news, I
Then you
go
get on
to
social media. Yeah.
And
So
what I do is I just lay there scrolling through my notifications, and then somehow I end up on Instagram. And
what's your first app you go to?
Instagram. It used to be Facebook, but now I don't be on Facebook like that. No, not talking
I think
about
mine is TikTok.
it. But
and
I have found myself
somehow I
ready
end up
to
on
go.
Reels. And then I look up an hour later.
Then why don't
Yes.
you just go to TikTok?
Yes.
An hour? I
No,
ain't that
but
bad.
well, he ain't as bad
I
as
just
me.
be-
Sometimes
I
I
just
get
be
on
like-
on Reels. I get on Instagram. I intend to go to sleep. It's like I'll get in the bed. I'm going to sleep at X o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
Pick up the phone. Ooh, let me check my notification, and then I open Instagram or open something and scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll, and I look up. It's 2 hours later. I'm surprised y'all don't hear me laughing sometimes.
Sometimes I do.
And then that's how I be in the morning, laying in the bed, knowing I got shit to do. And I'm like,
I think everybody do that at one
keying that
point.
shit.
So do we think they're doing this on purpose?
Yeah, because if
Or
you,
is it just addictive because this is what we're used to doing when we get
No,
up?
I
Teach
really
you this.
think the algorithm is designed to keep you on the app.
and that's who these companies' bread and butter. It's your engagement. It's your
Our attention.
attention, your daily active use.
Because nothing is free.
And then they
Right.
monetize it with
Like
either your
Facebook
information
is free and always will
or
be. Oh,
advertising.
nope, it's not free. You're not
So-
paying for it, but you're paying for it.
With Facebook, it's your information. Like all them games that I be seeing people play, saying what you gonna be doing in 5 years or whatever. That's these bots on Instagram. That's these robotic games or apps that ain't doing nothing but stealing your
So
information.
all of
and
it's
then-
sinister.
Yeah.
Even the what's the latest ones? Like, see how you'll look
Yeah. And then
at 50, or see how you look. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
then
they
after
I don't
I
play
see one
those.
of
They
my-
definitely taking your face.
I don't.
yeah.
I
And
don't
then
play those things.
after I see one of my Facebook friends posting that, they then like 2-3 days later, if you get a friend request from me, don't accept it. It's not me. Because what they're doing is they're cloning your page. Like that happened to Daddy Page, and it was selling some dresses. That's what they started trying to
Oh,
sell.
They was
goodness.
doing what? I didn't even know nothing
Now
about none of
I've
this.
gotten a lot of cloned accounts. Not a lot, but several that I've figured out that are cloned accounts, and I love fucking with them. I love to go when they DM me. I love to ask them questions that only that real person would know, and watch them squirm.
And now they are taking that like to verify. Like I know with scam calls they're doing that because y'all, my mom loves to fuck with them scam calls. She will answer them.
Then that tells me that
And
I'm
be
just
talking
like
to-
mama, because I was doing that. Like they would call me with all this scam likely, and I'd be like, "Kiss my ass." And
Well, wait, there's a guy on
But see, now
Instagram.
you
I
done
can't.
verified your number works.
There's a guy on Instagram. I can't remember his name, and I wish I could. But he answers the scam call. It's like his wife gives him the phone, and he just says the most outlandish shit, like so and so's funeral. You kill him, we box him, or whatever. Some crazy stuff. And I can't remember the name of this page on Instagram, but it's hilarious the way he answers
I'm gonna
these
answer
scam
it
calls.
one time and say, "Lose toilet rental."
So
That's what he does.
the
That's what
last
this guy on
question
Instagram does.
because we do have a lot to get to, and I want to make sure we keep on
Yeah,
moving.
but sometimes we be having fun going off on the
I
tangent.
know, and I would love to do this, but I don't know if y'all would appreciate a full and 5-hour
is
podcast.
Literally how we be. We be trying to watch a show or a movie, and
Yeah,
like
and
2
we be
hours
like, wait,
later,
y'all, wait.
because we just start talking about some shit.
So do you? I can't even remember where I was. Let's see. Is this changing the way our generation interacts? So, I'm gonna get in trouble, y'all. Back in your day, Mom, how would y'all
Back
interact?
in my day, I'm only 28.
I did
No.
something real mean to mama once.
What you did?
I asked you, did y'all used to write with feather pencil?
Yeah, he sure did ask her that. He asked my mama, "Did y'all used to write with them feather pens?"
You mean a quill pen? I said. No,
I'm like, she wasn't born in the 1800s.
only born in the 60s.
So, do you think, from your experience, that things are different now? Like a lot of times, I know you'll tell me, "Well, why you didn't get her number?" And I'm like, "Well, that's not how I do it. I have to like go in
Yeah,
her
it's like-
DMs and."
When I was coming up, guys
what's your
asked
Instagram?
for your number.
That's
Yeah,
like
but-
too forward
And
these
now y'all
days.
have a damn phone, a computer in your hand. You could just hand it to them.
So yeah, you did have to. Yeah, y'all had to share a line. So like if
You had to remember it, or you had to write it on their hand. Why that's funny?
I don't know
Why y'all laughing?
I was
Let's
just
see.
thinking, For me, like recently, guys, I bit the bullet and got a second phone, which I know that sounds very elitist, but
Yeah, we
trust
be
me,
messing with him.
I'm not
calling him
elitist.
Kevin Gates,
I ain't rich,
which
but
I don't know why that's a joke. But
I
anyway.
did it for because he had a song called. I'll show you after the
Okay.
show.
I just know about it, but I don't really know about it.
So anyway, I did it for mental health. The same reason I was just talking to y'all, because I have a problem unplugging from work. Like I'll be working till like midnight and then be like, well, why the hell am I tired the next day? Because I can't unplug. So my goal in doing this was to have a personal phone and a business phone. And I've had the second phone for at least 6 months, and I still can't remember the damn number.
See, that's crazy. Like, I remember everybody's number.
I don't know how you do that.
Well, I be like, oh, it's just
he get it from his mama.
Now, my other number, I know I'm going to end up having to change it, but I don't want to because I done had the number since I was 12 years old. So I can remember that one. But I can't remember this new number I got.
So wait, did I just have a senior moment? Did I answer your question?
Shit, I don't remember.
You asked me back in my day.
Yeah, do you think, I guess the question was, do you think that social media has changed the way we interact with each other?
Yes, absolutely.
Do you think it's for the better or worse?
I think it's a double-edged sword.
Okay.
Because technology can always be good, but I think it makes things less personal. And I think in turn it makes the generations who've grown up with social media more.
I think it makes
more
us
introverted. I think.
Yeah, I think we're more introverted and more jittery. I think from the male perspective, we're so either we don't care, and I'm speaking in generalities. We don't care about what the opposite sex thinks, and it's like a game. How many girls can I get to respond to me in the DMs? Or like in my case, I care too much, so I'm too nervous to like really put myself out there.
Yeah, and I get it all. I don't like to call people at all.
Yeah, what is that about? So y'all don't like to talk on the phone?
I was thinking about
know
that the
why
other day.
I
Because
don't like
they
to talk
always
on the
Somebody
phone.
texted you, and then you said, "Oh, they texted me back. Call them." And I was thinking to myself, they don't want to talk to you. They just texted you.
And for me, it's always they call me man. So ma'am, I'm like, I ain't no ma'am.
Your voice go get deeper in your 20s. Mine did. That used to irk me in my teens.
Yeah.
It's just our genetics.
But his voice doesn't sound light to me.
The microphones in person, in real life, what I realize is that in person, our voices don't sound as high as they do on microphones.
Yeah, well,
I don't know why that is, but
y'all's
especially
voices
over the
don't
phone.
sound light to me. They sound like men's voices.
Mm-hmm.
However, this might be going off on a tangent.
I think we've been on tangents this whole damn episode.
That's all right. Is it me or does everybody hate the way their voice sound when they hear their voice?
I
hate my voice.
I was reading an article about it, and they're saying that everyone
all
hates
hate
their
our
voice
Oh, so it's not just
because
me.
you're not used to hearing it this way.
Oh.
It's something to do with the airwaves and how you normally used to hearing your voice, but then when you hear it like over electronic stuff.
Yeah.
But I've gotten used to it now. But this used to be one of my biggest insecurities was my
both
voice.
Sides. I've heard people tell me, one man, when I was working on the phone, I was talking to a customer, and he told me, "You sound like a Steven, not a Stephanie."
Motherfucker.
Mm-hmm.
What's his fucking address?
And
Look at
then
camera.
some
Camera
people,
about to crash the fuck out.
The entire fuck no.
and then somebody told me I sound like one of those 976 operators, like I could have like I could be a voice actress or whatever.
What's a 976?
Oh, I know you fucking lying.
I just dated myself.
How I know what it is, but
You know what it is? Oh Lord, this is how I am,
believe
y'all.
I do.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I get for like starting the code at 13. I haven't watched so many movies. I'm so out of
I
the
know.
loop on everything.
So I was like, Trey, I'm gonna watch whatever movie, and he's like, well, I never saw that. You never saw
And
that.
they tease me. They fucking bully the fuck
We
out of me about it.
Tease you.
They be like, how you haven't seen that? I'm gonna take your black card. I'll be like, oh,
Like, have you seen Life?
I think I seen Life.
Harlem Nights?
Yeah,
Oh,
but I
all right.
saw that after. I saw that
He
like
shot me in my pinky toe.
I saw that as an adult. I didn't see it as a teenager.
Lord.
I'm gonna put what's left.
All
of my
right,
foot in
y'all.
your
We gotta
ass.
move on, or we ain't gonna get through this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now we're going into block 2. So everybody has been talking. I'm sure everyone has heard about Shedeur Sanders and him being snubbed at the NFL in the draft.
Yes. Yes.
So he was viewed as the number 2 quarterback in the class by numerous experts, but ended up not getting picked until the 5th round by the Browns. His quote attitude and quote brash demeanor was cited by some coaches as quote entitlement, saying that he made specific requests about what teams he wanted to play for. One report also said he took a personal phone call during an interview. All of this reportedly caused teams to remove him from their draft boards. Is this a case of them putting a quote uppity nigga in his place?
It's hard to say. I mean, I feel like all of the controversies surrounding it, it could definitely be that they felt like he was entitled. Does that mean he really is an entitled person? No. That just means that that's how they felt he was. I say he need to show them.
As a black man, I think this society always confuses our confidence with arrogance. They said that Barack Obama is arrogant.
Yeah, that's true.
And I've gotten that in my professional life too. Just because I know that I'm professional, I know what value I'm bringing to the table, doesn't mean that I'm being uppity.
But that's that age-old thing that black men have had to deal with for literally generations, is that unless you be humble, you humble yourself, they're going to label you.
Yeah. And sometimes, some people may say, well, you could be humble, you could be more humble. But even when you're humble, they expect more out of you. I've had situations where I've been too nice, I've been too giving. And even after doing that, I still didn't get the respect. I still was expected to go even further. And what do I get in the end? Nothing. So it really upset me. I am a fan of football. I'm a fan of basketball. I don't follow football
As much as you follow.
closely as I follow basketball. But I do watch football games, especially, our local teams and stuff. But when I heard about that, it was maddening, but I didn't know all of the details about, is what they're saying, does it have any merit? But from the surface, I just basically knew it didn't have merit because this is what they always say about black men.
Yeah, it is what they always say. Now, there are some reports that I read, and I don't know how accurate they are, of there being, so there's another part to the controversy where the family and the Browns have threatened to sue the New York Giants if they release a tape or, a video of his interview or his meeting with them, because, it's rumored that it's so bad that
That it
they
could
don't
hurt his
it
brand.
could hurt his brand, or it could hurt him, his reputation. I mean, these are things that they're saying. I don't know. I wasn't there, but
And that seems to be a lot of what's going on. around a lot of different things. And y'all, we mentioned that we're covering news, we're covering politics, we're covering pop culture. But here at Pragmotiv, before we speak on a lot of things,
we do
our research because we want
to try to understand.
We don't want to be a part of
wanna-
misinformation.
Exactly.
We do bring you our opinions a lot. That's part of what, having a podcast is about. But we don't bring up things until we know all of the facts. And I know right now, as we are recording this episode, that pop culture is buzzing with a lot of shit
the
right
internet
now.
on fire.
And what we mean by that, and we will be talking about this, in the upcoming episodes. But you have the Diddy trial going on. You have the Tory Lanez stuff with Megan and the him getting stabbed in jail.
Mm-hmm.
You have Chris Brown getting arrested.
And not a bodyguard for Tory coming forward with more stuff.
Yeah, so you have all of this stuff, but of course, before we delve into those topics, we're going to make sure that we bring in y'all the facts, and before we discuss them. So it's a challenge to try to make sure that we're staying up with the news cycle, but making sure we're delivering the content the way that we want to give it to you guys.
That's why we have kind of a delay. So
don't penalize us.
Don't penalize us for it. We're truly here to try to bring you the news the best way possible with as much facts as possible, because we're not with that misinformation shit.
No,
that's for other people.
Well, that's actually one of the reasons why we started this podcast.
that's the main reason why.
Because we just felt that there was so much mis and disinformation
And the
being
mainstream
spread
media
around, and we
is
want to
just
be
not doing
truth
what
tellers.
they should be doing.
So the last thing in this block, and the name of this block, by the way, is really telling. It's, are Black people still being treated as slaves? And a lot of people have brought this point up that I've read about.
specifically about the NFL.
Well, specifically about the NFL, about the entertainment industry, just basically anything that we as Black Americans do in this country. This country is supposed to be, land of the free. And we're supposed to be free.
Mm-hmm.
And yet anything we do
It's
seems
highly
to require a cosign.
A cosign and held to an impossibly high standard.
Yes. But that cosign, if you're Black, most of the time comes from a person who's white. It has to. Because white people control more of the institutions than we do, more of the financing, the banks, if you want to start a business, then 9 times out of 10, if you need a business loan to get started, then you're going to be trying to convince
bank,
a white bank to finance you. If you are trying to do a tech startup, then you're going to be trying to convince white VC firms.
For the most part, yeah.
Yeah. Now, I'm not saying that this is 100% of the time.
Yeah, no.
But most of the
100% of the time.
So when you look at things like, what would probably be, and this is off the top of my head, I don't have any numbers to back this up, but just in the media, what would you say is one of the top things that Black Americans, is the number one wealth builder?
For Black people as a group of people?
Yeah, or to get Black people millions.
Oh, that would be entertainment and
sports. It would be
sports.
entertainment and sports.
Which is...
And all of that is controlled by who?
White people.
So I'm not saying that poorer white people don't have to deal with some of the same things. It's the same but different.
Like, I don't know of any Black person that can really just walk into a bank and say, see, I have this business. And not even
that's just not how it works at all in this day and age anymore.
It's no longer where you're convincing the bank president, or the vice president of the bank or the loan officer to approve your loan. The only time that happens is in private banking. And once you get to private banking, you're rich.
Yeah.
You're you're wealthy. So it is a matrix that is used based on, and this is going to open up a whole can of worms. It's based on your credit history, and it's based on your scoring. And but again,
But who determines your
It's
credit
behind
history?
the credit score.
If you in
and
this
then the
zip
red
code, then
lines.
your credit and your interest rates are already different. So if your interest rates are less because you live in XYZ zip code versus the other, then you're able to pay your bills better because you might be saving $100 on your car note.
yeah, like that certain individual who has the same exact car that I do, with the same company that I do, but because their zip code is different.
So a lot of people
And the
say,
insurance.
well, racism is
what
over
I mean.
in America. Well, they might not be saying, well, you're black, so you're going to pay more. But they're going a roundabout way of saying it. This zip code is made up of more black people, more poor people. So we're going to charge higher interest rates for this zip code versus this more affluent
And they
zip
always
code.
justify it with some reason other than, why they're charging the
If
higher. But it's called
black-
redlining. And
if
it's
you're
been
black,
going on for
you're-
decades.
A whole lot of shit is just higher for us. Our car insurance. We was talking about interest rates. The car insurance. If you're black, especially a black male, your car insurance is extremely high.
Well, it's according to your zip code. When Katrina hit, when we were in Texas for that little bit of time, our insurance rate went down because we were in a zip code that the insurer considered a less risky zip code. And that zip code was not the 80% black zip code that we came from in New Orleans. It was a more diverse zip code. So it's just a fact of life that.
Yeah, and it's something that this country needs to work on.
Yeah.
So that we could truly be equal. But in order to work on something,
You got to admit
that it's a problem.
Yeah.
And if you're not willing to do that, you can't solve a problem until you realize or admit that or recognize that there is a problem.
It's just madness.
And
to
we're fully
expect it
aware
to
that some
change.
people don't want to solve this problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're fully aware that some people are not going to agree with what we're saying.
Yeah, before y'all go in the comments, this is not a problem. Well, it might not be a problem for
you.
you.
But it is for everybody else.
All right, so now we're moving into our weekly segment, The Briefing Room, where we keep you updated with what is really going on out there.
What's
So-
going on?
We had to make an adjustment right before we started rolling tonight, this evening rather, because we were supposed to start off with the Pope, which we will get to the Pope. But we got to talk about what's going on with the Democratic National Committee and this rift between
This organization.
David Hogg, who is the vice DNC chair now, and
one of
Malcolm
Kenyatta.
and
We touched on this already. That ought to tell you.
yeah, we did touch on this. I'm just remembering that. So going back to the elections, when they was doing the elections for the party chair, I was one who thought, Ken Martin would be a good selection. And I still think that he is. But there seems to be this big problem that has been brewing between I don't even want to say elites because I feel like that's a strong word in the party. But
wouldn't say it's the elites.
it's the establishment and the newcomers.
Yeah.
So go ahead on Cam and roll David Hogg. David Hogg sat down with Bill Maher this past week, and he talked about some things that got the internets talking.
He said some things.
Well, look, I'm not here to defend the indefensible. The fact of the matter is, last election cycle, we lost vote share with every single demographic, except predominantly the older
Right.
people and people with PhDs. That is a major problem. We have an issue here that goes way beyond our messaging. If this was just a messaging problem, we spent $2 billion last election cycle, and we still got the result that we had. This is a messenger problem, and what I'm trying to do here is say, all right, we're going to light a fire under Democrats' asses to make sure that we are here to meet the moment that our country is in and show people how we are not just the party that is against Donald Trump, but we're a party that is here to provide an alternative vision for the future of this country. To show.
So following his interview with Bill Maher, Too Raw, Too Real on Instagram had this to say.
Bitch, I'm back, but I have a question. Before I go on vacation, I'm gonna need y'all Democrats to get y'all shit together. We need to figure out what we need to do about David Hogg, okay? Y'all need to hog tie his ass into the motherfucking basement until we're able to get a new motherfucking DNC vice chair because his ass gotta go. At this damn point, he talks about, oh, Democrats' approval rating is 27%. By the time his ass is through and doing this motherfucking campaign and going from pillar to damn post talking shit about Democrats, our fucking approval rating is gonna be at damn zero by the time he get through with our asses because I don't see how he's being helpful. He spends every day of every motherfucking second causing more voter apathy, talking about what Democrats aren't motherfucking doing, talking trash about the Democratic Party than being helpful and actually letting the American people know what Democrats are doing to actually combat the Trump administration. Democrats have filed several motherfucking lawsuits, won several motherfucking lawsuits. People have been pushing back against this administration, but yet he has not put out that information to every motherfucking platform he's gone on. All it's been is Democrats ain't shit. Democrats don't do this. And I'm going to attack James Clyburn, even though I promised Too Raw, Too Real that I would not go after CBC members. But instead, I'm going to renege on what the fuck I promised this black person because fuck him and fuck the black community and fuck CBC members. I know I said we need to expand it, but instead of that, I'm going to be highly motherfucking disrespectful to James Clyburn. Secondly, the Democratic Party's job is about policy, ideology, not how you're going to get some motherfucking pussy. It is not our job to try to appeal to white male fragility, knowing the mere fact that your ass is feeling, oh, well, I gotta walk on an eggshell because I can't be misogynistic, I can't be racist, I can't be homophobic, I can't be xenophobic, I can't be transphobic, I can't be all of the things that I am because I want to feel good about myself. I want you to, make me feel good. Be that I'm a horrible motherfucking human being. It's not our motherfucking job. Okay? I'm not sitting here trying to appeal to people that are never going to vote for the Democratic Party regardless. I don't give a fuck about that. Why not take all those efforts into going after the people who decided to sit their ass at home, reinvesting in the people who feel like they have been forgotten? What about that? Why are we going after racist whites who will never fucking change? I'm gonna waste my motherfucking time trying to appeal to people who found that it was more conducive to vote for a rapist than a competent black woman. You really think that's what I'm gonna waste my time on rather than going to those damn communities that feel forgotten, actually coming up with policies and ideas and ask them, why didn't you show up? What is it that's going to take to get you to the polls? Those are the people I want to go after. I don't want to go after people who are racist and prejudiced and all of these damn things. I don't want those people in my party. I'm not going to compromise my existence for a racist. Everything David Hogg said in that motherfucking interview with that portobus monkey looking ass motherfucking Bill Maher was highly fucking offensive. I'm a man. I get it. I read through them motherfucking lines. You may be a woman and may not get this shit, but I do, and I'm not with it.
So,
Okay,
I
there's several things to unpack there.
I
I don't think that that's what David Hogg was saying.
no.
I think that he is trying to get the party as a whole to
Yeah.
speak to people who did not come out to vote, who feel like the party is not representing them. He's basically was saying that the people who are apathetic that are elected need to get the fuck.
Well, just for context to the viewers, because I know we could not put the whole clip of David's entire interview in there, but some of what Too Raw, Too Real was talking about was David's comments about how people in our generation are tired of having to work 2 jobs, and we just want to be able to do what young people do and get laid. And that was his comment about getting pussy. I just think that this whole thing, his whole rant about this was a little misplaced. Most of it, some of it, I think had merit. The part about us going after people who are racist or who are MAGA, yeah, that is a waste of time.
And I don't think that
But that's
anybody's
not what David-
advocating
That's
that.
not
was
what
saying.
he's
Because that is a
advocating for.
lost cause.
Yeah.
All of those people who wear the hat is a lost cause. Don't nobody need to be trying to talk to them people. In fact, stick clear to them.
But I think the point David was trying to make is that if every time you open your mouth, you feel like you might be canceled,
Yeah, that's
penalized for saying the wrong thing
Yeah.
because you might use the wrong pronoun, even if it wasn't intended to be offensive, then they're going to feel like they're constantly walking on eggshells. And in life, if anyone feels like that in any kind of relationship,
They're going to
they're going to
withdraw
remove themselves from that
the
situation. So I do see David Hogg's point in that maybe the Democratic Party lost some votes because of that.
because we've been like, oh, I can't believe you said that to a
Nah.
lot of things.
To
To things that didn't really even merit that. And what I don't like what I don't like is when black people try to paint anything a white person says as racist. When you call everything racist that you don't like, it takes the weight, it takes the teeth and the meaning behind calling something racist.
when it really
So
is.
when you keep crying wolf about something that wasn't intended to be racist, and when you say something is racist when something actually is racist, people aren't going to listen.
Exactly. And for people like David Hogg, I mean, everything that he's been through, I mean, the school shootings became more prevalent after I was out of high school. I don't really remember that. At least when I was in high school, it wasn't a part of our daily routine. And I graduated in 2012.
Yeah.
I do remember hearing about school shootings across the country. I'm just saying in this part of the country.
They made Holy Cross made y'all's campus safe
Yeah.
because y'all had they thought about those things.
Yeah. So I do realize that I'm an exception. I wasn't in
When my
not saying it can't happen in a situation like what I was in. But
yeah, it could always happen
point
because
that I'm
most of the
trying
time
to
it's
say-
an insider that does it.
yeah, the point that I'm trying to make is that he's an ally. And if we keep pissing off allies or throwing allies away, then who are we going to have? Because like we just talked about in the last block, if we live in a society where you need to be, quote, co-signed by white people, whether us as black people like it or not, sometimes our message is heard better coming from people who are white.
Yeah, like Barack Obama would have never gotten elected if he had chose another black person, or even if he had chose Hillary Clinton.
And people don't want to admit that. As much as we would have loved to have seen a ticket that was Barack Obama and Kamala Harris, you live in a country that wasn't going to elect a Barack Obama and a Kamala Harris. Now, we are in 2024. I mean, 2025 now. And I remain, I guess bullish is the word. I'm not going to compromise anymore.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that, well, our next Democratic nominee for president needs to be a white cisgender male because that's what's palatable to the racists. I don't want people to take my comments right now out of context. That's not what I'm advocating. But what I'm saying is let's attack the people who deserve to be attacked, who are really spewing racist, hateful comments, who really aren't acting on our behalf.
Who are really plotting
Who are really
against
plotting on our
us.
downfall.
Yeah. And let's not attack people for saying things innocently, like I view what David Hogg said on Bill Maher. Now, as far as the James Clyburn thing, it could be attributed that he was talking about him. That comment was, I think James Clyburn said something to the effect of, well, if I retire, then what will I do? And David
You're gonna do
Hogg's
what other
response
retired people do.
to that was, this is not your seat, this is the people's seat. And that is a correct response.
Right.
And
He
didn't-
wasn't.
It's
it's not
not
like he added him.
disrespectful.
He wasn't attacking
He didn't go
James
and tell
Clyburn.
him,
I'm sure
"You need to sit
everybody has
down."
respect for James Clyburn and his contributions.
And nobody is saying
his
that
work.
he should quit. Like
Yeah.
people calling for Schumer to quit. I haven't heard that, at least.
No, nobody's calling for James Clyburn to quit. And I'm not saying Nancy and David Hogg isn't saying, and nobody is saying Nancy Pelosi, Steny Hoyer, James Clyburn needs to quit.
He
Or-
specifically said that he was talking about people who were just not doing anything
yeah.
with the
Yes.
seat that they have. It's then that they don't deserve to
And-
just
and
have the
people-
seat because they were elected. You can elect better people who are going to do something. And he clarified, he's not talking ageism. He's talking about anybody who is not doing enough.
Yeah. And these people, anybody who wants to keep the status quo and keep pretending that nothing is wrong is a problem.
Right.
I
Because something is wrong.
truly respect Joe Biden. I think that his administration was one of the most consequential administrations that this country has seen. Because what they did in 4 years is monumental.
And that's what the
But they don't
butt
get the
of
credit
Nancy
for it
Pelosi
because-
and Chuck Schumer.
Where they failed to me, because trust me, I was watching.
Yeah, because
Because
nobody's
during
no
the Trump administration-
there's never going to be a perfect administration. Let's just say that.
Yeah, that's never going to happen. But during the first Trump administration, I would watch in horror. I would watch them press briefings and be like,
just-
what the fuck is this debacle?
And now it's what the fuck squared.
And when Joe won and Jen Psaki took over, I would watch them. And especially when Karine Jean-Pierre became press secretary. That was just
Historical.
It was historical, and it was a sight for me to see. That meant something, to be able to look and see
Somebody look
her
like
black
you.
skin against that White House seal. And that means something to everybody when you see people who represent you. White people in America might not understand where we're coming from with that because they're used to seeing that. When you walk in the store for Christmas time, all of the decorations are already reflecting your ethnicity. You don't feel excluded.
White Santa Claus and white angels,
Jesus.
as if-
White
as if
Jesus.
There's
So-
like 10 different white angels to the one.
Black
Black
angel,
angel.
that's hard to find.
That's extremely hard to find. And it's like every year I get scared that our black angels have stopped working. And I'm just in the mode of I gotta test it and make sure it works. Because we can't find another.
And I'm sure some people who come in our house be like, oh my God, they must be racist. They don't want to have white angels. No,
But
it's not that.
no.
It's just representation.
There's no representation for us because everywhere we go, we see white angel, white angel, white angel, as if there ain't no black angels. Like the fuck? How are we supposed to take that?
So, getting back on point of what I was trying to say, it was crazy to me when I would hear them every day talk about how good the economy was, even though we did have the #1 economy in the world.
On paper.
On paper, the stock market was doing phenomenal.
Right.
The Biden administration did a wonderful job of landing us out of the debacle that
chaos
was the
that-
COVID
Right.
pandemic. But
Started by Trump,
that did
Or not
not
started by Trump.
translate on the ground.
but
Exacerbated.
fucked
by
up by Trump. I misspoke.
So here's the problem with that. Americans thought, well, damn, you telling me everything is fine, but I'm struggling to buy food. So they fumbled the bag when it came to authenticity in a time when authenticity is the #1 currency. And I think that played a huge part in why the election ended up the way it is. Even though I don't agree with it, even though Donald Trump is astronomically bad, way worse, he started the fucking mess and people believed him that he was going to fix it.
Right.
When you started it, that whole
But he
charade of
blamed-
him with all of the groceries, I invented the word groceries or whatever the fuck he said. That shit was crazy. When he was standing there behind the Folgers coffee and the what was it, the cornflakes?
And he brought down your property value.
So
he had New Orleans' own Folgers coffee on that thing?
Uh-huh.
Or was it Maxwell House?
No, I think it was Folgers. I think it was.
Yeah,
I don't know.
it was.
So it was maddening to me when I saw them do that. Now, while I do understand that no White House in their right mind would agree to say the economy is bad when the economy was the number one economy on paper,
Right.
they could have said, while the economy is the number one economy on paper, we do recognize that prices are high and the pain with the American families
They started doing that towards the
end.
end.
I watched the press briefings where they would spar back and forth with the reporters and say
it
that
seemed
that
like they
wasn't
was
the
dodging.
case. It seemed like they was dodging, and the media reported it as such. And this is what the Republican
Just straight into their ass.
Machine echo chamber.
put on social media, and this is what was put out there, and this is what
And I just
created this
don't-
result.
I just don't get why it's got to be that deep. Like, if I was president, I would be like, okay, it's bad. I know it's bad. I'm trying to fix it. It ain't my fault it's bad. Ask the other dude. But I'm going to fix it.
Yeah, I think that's where Joe's team might have missed
And then
opportunity.
what they also fail to do is to say what you need to fix it. Like, you should say, nah, I can't do nothing about this if you put the Republicans in charge.
They should have had the
because-
president vlogging.
Yeah. If I was president, that's exactly
Right.
what the fuck I'd do.
Yeah.
He should have been vlogging
because
every day.
doing those press briefings, most people are not looking at network TV.
No,
We
they was
already
only
talked about
getting,
this.
like-
And then they don't even put it on there. MSNBC wasn't putting Korean on there.
No, and that's the channel that would have been putting them on there. So
Yeah, so you had
the
to go to
message
the White
wasn't-
House's live stream.
Getting through.
And when I think one time I was on that live stream and it had like 6,000 viewers.
Yeah.
Like how many millions of Americans? And you
Just
got like nobody's listening.
And people are looking
Because
at
the
They, they
government.
weren't in front of they weren't where the eyeballs were.
So I agree with some of the stuff that he was saying, but I just think that the criticism of David is
It's
like
not
that's not what he was
that
saying.
level of criticism is not warranted.
Yeah. So here's what Malcolm Kenyatta had to say about the whole thing, because he is one of the people who's
He's
affected,
one of the vice chair.
who has to have this vote.
And what
They
is he, a
have to-
representative from where?
I'm not sure
I can't remember.
where he's from. I don't have that fact.
I am, like everybody else, a human who won my election in an overwhelming fashion. Am I pissed that now I'm being asked to run again after getting the most votes of anybody who ran for vice chair? Yes, I'm pissed. But I also recognize that, listen, they made a decision. Evidence was brought, arguments were made, they made a decision. And, you know, I can announce here on your show that, you know, I welcome that new election. I welcome the opportunity to talk yet again, not only to the DNC, but to talk to Democrats everywhere about how we build this party. Now, let me just make two final points about David's lies and what really got me upset. This challenge brought by the person who lost the election was filed in February. Because of the timeline, you have to bring the challenge, right? And then we get a certain number of days to respond. She gets a certain number of days to respond to our response, and all those things. It's boring, but it drags out the process. And so that means that a challenge she made in February was not heard until May. David's first press release out was, see, the DNC is hypercharging something to get me out. And then he had the, nerve and the audacity after sending out that press release to send me a text message and say, "Oh, hey Malcolm, I'm so sorry you got caught up, in this. Let's talk soon." And I responded to him to basically, say, how dare you try to text me privately and say you're so sorry, and then publicly you're lying about the timeline and making yourself the victim in a scenario where you were never, the victim.
So I do feel, one thing I did take issue with that David said on Bill Maher was that he didn't really care for the DNC's requirement that so many of the vice chairs, I guess, be represented by women. And that's like at the...
Okay,
I'm
so
losing
yeah,
the
I would
word.
take issue with that as well, because
That's the problem.
you need to
and
have
why
it
they have to have
reflected.
another vote.
You would need to have a reflection. The party should
Reflect the people.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I could halfway sort of kind of see why David would say that, because of the Republicans' crusade against DEI and saying, and basically saying that they feel that if you are so focused on putting women in these positions, are they qualified? And I say to that, of course they're qualified.
Yeah.
Because we wouldn't put them there if they weren't.
Yeah.
Like, it can't be that crazy to think that there's a woman qualified in this country to do a job.
Yeah, but a lot of people are sexist and they think that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because what did the Orange Man do when he got into office? He fired a lot of people of color and women
Mm-hmm.
for
replaced
no
them.
apparent reason, for nothing other than their gender or their race,
then look
because
at
they
all
were
of-
quote DEI hires.
Yeah.
And then look at all of the women he did put in charge. Pam Bondi, the
Kristen O,
who's the
Linda
press
McMahon,
new mechanism. I don't
Levitt,
know.
Levitt.
Oh,
Yeah.
Levitt.
I can't ever remember her name. I just call her McEnany.
And
Why he
they
didn't bring
all-
her back?
nah.
That's the thing that's
They
so weird to
all-
me. Why you
white
didn't bring the
women
people
Well,
back
that's
we
with
had?
blonde hair,
That
blue
says
eyes.
a lot that people in his first administration didn't come back.
I just
Even
think he
and now
didn't
some
want her.
people he didn't want back, but some people he may have wanted back. I would venture to guess they was like, nah, bruh,
I don't think she was one
I'll
of them,
pass.
but
I mean,
I heard she was doing something. I don't remember, but
well,
Good,
my
don't come back.
message to the
I didn't want to see
Democrats
you
is,
anyway.
first of all, I don't like all this damn drama. I don't like drama, period.
yeah.
But this is like really
This is
embarrassing.
embararring and it's giving
it's counterproductive.
And the second thing is, don't get mad at David Hogg for talking bad about the things that the Democrats need to improve, because just because we don't talk about the things, just like what I was just talking about with the Biden administration not admitting at first how much pain the American people
And
was
then
in
what Trump
financially,
was doing with
people was
COVID.
already talking about it. So just because you don't talk about the things does not mean that,
That
they
is
ain't
not being talked about. Right.
Yeah. So they harping or what's his name? Oh shit, I'm drawing a blank.
The too raw, too real guy.
Too raw, too real.
What's his
Kennan?
name?
Yeah, Ken.
Kennan.
Yeah. He was harping on the talking bad about the Democrats. You're creating more apathy. And or something to that effect. He is echoing what we, the people, the Democratic Party members, people who are registered Democrats, this is what we're feeling. If you're not doing something that you need to be doing in the Congress, then why are you there? Leave.
Yeah. And I talk to so many people who won't vote for Trump. Like they're not MAGA, but they have a very horrible view of the Democratic Party.
And
they're not, they fellow black people.
Yeah. And how
So
can
how are
you-
we going to win if we don't have a coalition?
Yeah.
And
Right.
we need a coalition of not just black
He-
people. You need Hispanic people. You need
Asian people. You need
And you
white
need some
people.
white
You
people.
need Hindu,
You need a whole lot of
Indian
people.
You need
And-
everybody, because we're made up of
And
everybody.
that's how it should be.
Yeah.
One group of people shouldn't be able to control the country for all the groups of people.
Yeah. He said that we didn't have a message problem; we had a messenger problem.
Nah,
And-
yeah, I didn't like that because
But-
to me,
So
aren't you
who
talking
was he
about Kamala
talking about?
Harris?
He's
I don't
not-
think-
I don't think
Because
he's
I don't
talking
think
about
she
Kamala.
was the problem.
I think he's talking about the Democratic Party as a whole, where we have all of these people talking.
But the
saying
messenger
what-
is your candidate.
Not really, because we was running more elections than just president.
Yeah, but who was at the top?
Still, it's not really her. It's the party as a whole. They looked at us as bad because of these, because of what happened under Joe, and by us not driving the point home as to why this is this way, what we're doing to fix it, and so the Democratic Party's brand was shot. So.
Yeah.
But
And it shouldn't have been,
Kamala
but-
didn't. She didn't put herself in that position.
Yeah.
No.
She was put in that position.
by fucking over Joe. We should have just fucking stayed the course.
Yeah. Now that's a whole nother conversation for an episode
we
that we're
shot-
gonna do
We
dissecting
took
this
out
election.
a 12 gauge shotgun and shot ourselves in the foot by doing that.
All right, so we got to move on because we lose the time here. So apparently we have a new pope and he's black. So apparently the new pope has roots in our hometown of New Orleans. So y'all know we got to talk about this.
I'm so happy.
So this is an exciting first. I'm about to quote an article from pragmotivplus.com written by my co-host and my mom, Stephanie. So the title of the article is When the Gospel Offends, MAGA's Fury at Pope Leo XIV. Cardinal Robert Francis Prevost of Chicago has been elected as the 267th Pope, taking the name Pope Leo XIV. His election marks the first time an American has ascended to the papacy, signaling a significant shift in the church's global leadership. The MAGA hate machine revved its engine and commenced its unified belching of criticism, attacks, and accusations of wokeness and, quote, Marxism. One well-known Catholic MAGA voice, Jack, you're going to have to help me with this one.
Pro-Sobiech.
Sobiech?
Pro-Sobiech.
Okay. Stated that Christians are tired of, quote, mamby-pamby, light, substanceless Christian faith, end quote. MAGA wanted a conservative pope to push back against what they describe as the, quote, destruction of Western civilization.
Isn't that what y'all do?
The conservative wing of the church had been critical of Pope Francis's stance on homosexuality and divorce. The MAGA crash out is fueled in part by a comment made by Pope Leo XIV when he was still Cardinal Robert Prevost. Cardinal Prevost had shared or retweeted social media posts that were critical of Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. The article continues. I have been Catholic all my life, raised in New Orleans, Louisiana. I'm a proud graduate of the 158-year-old institution that is St. Mary's Academy, which was started by an order of African-American nuns, the Sisters of the Holy Family, and founded by the Venerable Ariette DeLille. I am also a graduate of the only historically black Catholic university in the Western Hemisphere, Xavier University of Louisiana. As a practicing Catholic, educated in my faith by caring and learned practitioners, I vehemently disagree with Vance's comments and applaud Pope Leo XIV for sharing the article. So, of course, you guys can read the full article and many more from us here at Pragmotiv at pragmotivplus.com. So let's talk about it. What compelled you to write that article?
Well, that day I was getting my car serviced and I was watching the live stream of the ceremony or the wait, as the cardinals were voting. and I was watching it live stream on YouTube. And when I saw the white smoke come out, I was moved. And then when they announced who it was, I learned that he was a close acolyte of Pope Francis, who I had great respect for his views and for the way that he ministered to us as Catholics. And you know, when I was reading about Cardinal Prevost's background, and when I saw what Jari Honore wrote, the historian from the New Orleans collection, I just started writing, and then
It just flowed out.
It just flowed out, yeah.
So for me, I forgot what I was doing. I think I was at FedEx. I was shipping something, and I was in the parking lot, and they announced that they had selected a new pope, and I was a little antsy. I was nervous because we're living in a crazy time where this far right extremism is taking over everything.
Yeah.
And I was so afraid that it would take over the church. And
because we've had experience with that.
yeah, I've had some experience with some parishes that I've visited. One particularly unsettling
I think I know what you're going to say.
experience was when Whitney Houston passed away. And I was visiting.
That was horrible.
I don't even remember where I was visiting.
It was the church down the street.
Oh yeah, that was before we moved over here. And we was here visiting, and I went to mass, and the homily that this priest gave was so critical of Whitney Houston and her drug use. And basically the synopsis of it was that
He blamed her.
he blamed her for her own death and was using her as an example of what not to do, or you'll end up dead. And this is a, you know, there's children in here. Like, of course, this is weekend mass, this is Sunday mass. So why would this even be your homily? And I remember being so upset by this.
I really think we got up and left.
I think so.
I think we
It's
left.
one of them moments in life where you were so upset that you don't really remember what you did. But
I know we got up and left because we were offended.
so
Did
I
anybody
am
else? I'm sorry. Did anybody else get up and leave?
No,
at the
I don't
church.
think
I think
so.
a few people did.
I didn't see because I was so incensed that, you know, I sat there for a few minutes because you don't ever want to get up. You don't want to be disrespectful to the house of God, but at that point, I just did not feel like the person up there on the pulpit, on the altar, was doing what he was supposed to be doing. And
Well, you
I
get a
just, you know,
feeling that this is just not of God.
right?
So I'm a person who is very spiritual. And spirituality and following religion is separate to me. A lot of people try to say it's the same thing,
It's not.
but you have to have your own relationship with God. And that's separate from the religion that you follow.
Right.
So I respect people's choices, whatever religion. I'm not going to be like, oh, I'm Catholic, so if you're Baptist, I don't want you. Or if you're Muslim, I don't want you to be around me. No. Whatever religion you have, even an atheist, I'm not going to be like, well, I'm not going to be
judge.
friends with an atheist.
And it's God's will for us not to judge.
Yeah.
No,
or alienate
because-
people because
so
of what
to
they
be-
believe.
Because only he has the power to judge.
Legislating-
We shouldn't be judging anyway.
yes.
To be legislating what they are legislating. Forcing women, like there's a woman in a coma, forced
Right.
to give birth,
Right.
forced to continue to carry a child on life support.
and that is just
That's cruel.
That's
ungodlike.
cruel. And God doesn't want us pushing our religion off on people. I'm Catholic. And
And he gives us
I personally
ability-
wouldn't want
I'm
that.
sorry. Mm-hmm.
I personally wouldn't want any part of that. Not if there was a threat to the life of the mother. Of course, I care about her and would be like, okay, save her.
Mm-hmm.
But just to say, oh, I don't want a child. And I'm not saying anybody does that, but I'm not saying a lot of people do that, but some people do.
It's a very complex issue.
It's a complex issue.
But this country wants to preach now as a whole
But-
of whether people could have abortions or not. But this country does not provide
Yeah, you don't provide.
when these women are forced to have children.
Yeah.
So you want to force her to bring a child into the world
But
and then
once
have
the
that
child
child
is here-
starve. You want to take food stamps away from people who need them. But when the mother is telling you,
I can't feed this
have
child.
this child because I can't financially support it.
Or because
You want to say, well,
it was
put it
done
up
to
for
her.
adoption. Well, how many kids are in the foster care system right now
Yeah. That you don't want to pay
that
for.
you're not adopting?
Right.
So it
And-
sounds nice, but in practice, it doesn't work. You're just you're torturing people, basically.
Yeah,
is
because
what's
now
happening.
women who have miscarriages are being suspected of murder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So-
God just would not want no part of this.
So when I found out who it was, it was relieving to me, and my prayers were answered because I did pray to the Holy Spirit, like a lot of other Catholics, to help them pick the right person to lead the church. And this article from Axios talks about how the conclave, or why the conclave, elected Robert Prevost. And they say that the Vatican's veil of secrecy is beginning to lift, shedding light on how 133 cardinals from around the world unexpectedly coalesced behind Chicago native Robert Prevost, now Pope Leo XIV. The big picture: Prevost benefited from being the least American, quote, least American of the U.S. cardinals, from being an acolyte of Pope Francis's, but not a photocopy, and from his reputation as a good listener and quietly effective administrator, his fellow cardinals revealed on Friday. Francis's heir, but his own man. Prevost only became a cardinal in 2023, but Pope Francis made him one of the senior-most figures in the Catholic hierarchy earlier this year by elevating him to the rank of cardinal bishop. He was seen as as close to his predecessor both personally and in terms of outlook, but somewhat more moderate in temperament and on some ideological questions than the more fiery Francis. That made him a continuity candidate, but also a plausibly acceptable choice for some who had quibbles about Francis. The chatter among the electors ahead of the conclave was, we're looking for someone following in the pathway of Francis, but we're not looking for a photocopy. So some might view this as a step back because they were saying they didn't want someone as fiery as Pope Francis. But I think, considering what we could have gotten, this is more than acceptable and more than
It's hopeful
hopeful
to me.
Yeah,
It's hopeful to me.
because he might be more moderate on certain issues. But I think,
he's a compassionate leader.
yeah, he's definitely
That's
shown
what
that.
I could glean from the background that I read about on him, and I saw a quote from him today. I don't have the quote, but he spoke about wokeness as being awake, and he spoke about the criticism, because that's what the right wing or the conservative wing of Catholicism was, and other right wingers who are not Catholics were saying about Pope Leo, is that he's a Marxist. He's, well, you said that.
They throw
And
around all these damn words. I doubt
And
they know what they mean.
one of them talked about how it's gross that he's leading the church, because they wanted someone more conservative
They wanted someone unholy.
That's one way to
Someone
put it.
not of God. Okay.
Well, we could talk. I could talk for another 2 hours about how I feel like the right wing, quote unquote, Christian evangelicals is not real Christians.
Yeah.
You know, because in my view, some of the things that they put forth as policy and the things that they like to see and the way they conduct themselves is not, like you said, of God.
Yeah.
But he had a quote. He had a prayer that he made, and in it he talked about how they're calling me woke. And I'm paraphrasing because I don't have it in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
But that to be woke is to be awake and really looking at the plight of the world and trying to make it better instead of just being just really stern and patriarchal and staunch letter to the law. I mean, back when Barack Obama was president, one of the things that they were saying that he's going to usher in Sharia law. Well, it seems to me like that's what right-wing Christians are trying to do right now. It's not Sharia law, but because that's an Arab term. But you're doing the same types of thing. You want
authoritarianism,
a Christian authoritarian type existence in the world. It's not just in the United States. It's all around the world that this is happening. That this is rising again.
Yeah.
And most of us on the in as Americans now, we don't remember, and I don't know y'all don't remember. You know, you studied this in history class, but we already defeated fascism, or had a battle with fascism in the early part of the 1900s, and now it looks like we're going to have another battle. We are having a battle.
Yeah.
It's
with
just
fascism.
A shame this time it's not any other country. It's the United States.
Yeah.
Right.
So, going on to the next article in the briefing room, Trump is rejecting concerns about prices and the economic uncertainty. Donald Trump laid down the fears of his critics, from the potential harms of a recession to worries about rising prices due to his tariffs, to the possibility that he would seek a constitutionally forbidden third term. In a wide-ranging interview with NBC News' Meet the Press moderator Kristen Welker at his Mar-a-Lago, I can't ever fucking say that name right. Mar-a-Lago home in Palm Beach, Florida. He suggested that Americans ought to be able to make do with fewer common goods like dolls or pencils. First of all, who the fuck has pencils? Please, somebody tell me.
He needs
Now,
to
see,
erase.
only a millennial. I can't even get it out because that just didn't really phase me when he talked about the pencils. My reaction wasn't what Trey's is, but now that you say that, yeah, like, who the fuck uses a pencil?
I don't think we got not
pencil.
one motherfucking pencil in this motherfucking house.
I do have pencils, thank you very much. I draw.
The only thing I use pencils for is drawing. But mainly, I switched to drawing on my iPad. I just got my Apple Pencil.
Y'all better start sharing. Donald Trump done said y'all got to share the damn pencil.
Fuck him. Oh, and I'll say it again, in case you didn't see it. Fuck you, bitch.
Asked about the rise in prices on items like tires or strollers, Trump pivoted to gasoline, saying that thousands of times more important. That was thousands of times more important, he said.
What was thousands of times more important?
The price of gasoline.
But the price of gasoline is falling not for a good reason.
Nah.
Because you fucking up the economy.
But you raised it.
He said gasoline is more important than what?
Then, let's see. Gasoline is more important than the rising prices on items like tires or strollers.
Bitch, I would say the tires are more important. Because, bitch, if I'm riding on Maypops and that bitch blow out,
I don't matter
Then
how
what?
much gas I
it
got.
ain't no,
Right. You're
in
not
fact,
gonna be able to
it
drive
piss me
it.
off if I filled the bitch up.
So though he campaigned on providing immediate economic relief
Right.
to consumers, Trump has described recent pain as part of a, quote, transition period. He argues that the tariffs will ultimately lower the U.S. trade deficit, result in revenue for the government, and improve the domestic economy.
Bitch, it's a transition period, all right. A transition
You know-
from Biden to you, as in a good economy or a better economy versus what the fuck we got now. And that's because of your ass. 100 days.
I'm just. He continues to sway and lie.
And it's accepted.
And yeah, and it's like, don't y'all remember when he said he was going to lower prices?
Yeah, on day one.
immediately.
On day one.
And now
as
you
if
gotta
Joe
have
Biden had the power to
two
lower
do-
these prices, but was like, you know what?
fuck y'all.
I know
Let me
I
just
have
keep
this,
it high.
I know I have
But now
this
you gotta
magical
have
lever
2
here.
dolls and 5 pencils. You know, that's what he
This
said.
sounds like a person.
But yet you have
dementia.
godified and gold made the White House Oval Office.
Yeah. Apparently, I don't have the facts to back this up, but apparently I heard that the shit is plastic. It's not even like, we know the United States got the money, so why you not buying quality shit?
It needs to be plastic because that shit needs to
Oh,
get
it
gone
definitely need to
when
come down.
he is gone.
But that is so gaudy, just like his big ass flagpoles we talked about the last time.
Well, everything that he does is gaudy. Have you seen the videos of his apartment in New York that he had, or
That shit hurts
he might
my
still
eyes.
have? And Mar-a-Lago is
Lardo.
Mar-a-Lago is someplace that he bought from a family. And do y'all know he stole that family's crest? We got to talk
I did
about
read
that.
that.
Yeah, he stole
So-
their crest.
Quickly, The Hill reported that Trump is changing his tune on the economy, suggested Americans should buy less and will probably pay more and bear the brunt of the uncertain economic landscape as his wide-ranging tariff policy takes effect. Trump and his economic team have for weeks said that the tariffs would result in only short-term pain and that the tumult in the stock market would eventually level out, which the stock market has kind of rebounded, but only when you backed off of the tariffs
That's what I was just about to
and
say.
left us in, I think somebody was reporting that we are paying higher tariffs to China now, but we had to let go of the tariffs that he put in place.
I think it was a 20% across the board, but he did back off the 145% that he initially had on them. But China is already
But I think we're in a
making-
a trade deficit or some kind of shit.
China has already
The very thing that you
made-
was railing against, you created.
Yeah, they've already made partnerships with other markets to get what they need. Meanwhile, we can't get all of the shit from them that we are used to getting. It's a catastrophe of his making.
Let me interject some military stuff into this. Do y'all realize that when China strikes these deals with these other countries, that China holds all of the cards because they are a big buyer for what that country is offering? So now they can use that to curry favor or curry their support if they were to ever try to do something against us. So now China has been making inroads into South America. Pretty soon they're going to be right on our doorstep.
So then the next thing is, he said, quote, he suggested that American children, for example, quote, do not need as many toys, and that Americans do not need to spend as much money on junk we don't need.
But you need a $400 million plane when you got a perfectly good
But you
plane.
need 100-foot flagpoles, not one but two.
You need that gaudy ass
gold in the
gold
Oval
shit
Office?
in the Oval Office.
You need that gaudy ass
You
bronzer
need to
on
go.
your face?
You need to. You need to fucking golf twice a week in the middle of the work week. Like nobody's talking about this, but they was talking about Joe Biden going home on the weekend,
Right.
and he leaving in the middle of the work week
Right.
and costing
And
millions
going
of dollars.
golfing.
I wonder if
That's
he's
all
still
he
charging
do.
Secret Service rent.
He was doing that in the first term, so
Yeah. So
he got
why-
away with that.
So maybe they told him no, you can't be in New York, or maybe now he don't want to be in New York because
he
of,
don't want to be in New York because he a felon.
This James gonna be waiting on him. Bounce that ass somewhere.
Mm,
I know what
he's
we can do.
attacking that woman.
I know. But look, y'all, we can't cover everything because
I
it's
know.
probably,
I
probably
just
gonna
wanna-
be 3
I just
hours.
wanna
It's
say
just
one
so
more
much
thing.
going on.
I propose a new tariff on his mount. Every time he lie, he gotta pay us. That'll get us
A
out
new
this,
stimmy.
A stimmy for everybody.
All right, Newark, New Jersey Mayor Ras
Oh
Baraka.
my goodness.
Arrested.
This thing.
The mayor of Newark, New Jersey, was arrested at a U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement detention center while visiting the facility with members of New Jersey's congressional delegation. He said, quote, "What's happening now in this country, everybody should be scared of." For months, the mayor has joined other lawmakers and immigration advocates in arguing the 1,000-bed facility located about 15 minutes from Newark Liberty International Airport is dangerous and illegal. They allege the private prison company that signed a contract with ICE did not obtain proper permits and blocked fire, electrical, and plumbing inspections. We're not asking for anything that's incorrect. We ask them to obey our laws, to obey the policies and rules here in the city and the state of New Jersey, the mayor said. So that don't sound unreasonable to me. In fact,
No.
this is a safety hazard. You're going around the country illegally, to me. And
Snatching
the reason
people.
I say it's illegal is because you're not giving them due process.
Right.
I recently saw that I think the bishop or archbishop, I'm not sure how big the diocese of Nashville is, but their bishop, Catholic bishop, excused Catholics from attending mass on Sunday because ICE
Is
was
skulking around.
Yeah. What happened to respecting people? This is what the
Wait, ICE is purporting to go into a church?
Yes. And this is what the Republicans talked about as why we couldn't have shutdowns for COVID, stay-at-home mandates, because you was infringing on people's rights as far as religious freedom was concerned.
Well, according to
Because
them,
for them,
immigrants don't have rights.
for,
And you about to not have none if they get
if you keep letting them erode,
birthright citizenship.
because they setting precedent.
Yeah.
If they get rid of religious freedom rights,
That say
for-
that churches and synagogues
Yeah,
and mosques
then they
are
could come
off
after
limits.
you.
Yeah, places of worship.
you think they're going to stop at the people that they're attacking now?
Yeah.
You're
No.
next.
that party just always does that shit. They say when it benefits them, we can't do this. But then the minute it benefits them to do that very thing, it's well.
So that
Like
So-
they did that to President Obama. They stole a Supreme Court pick
Yeah.
from President Obama and said, well, the American people, since it's 9 months out from the election, the American people should decide who gets to fill that seat. And then lo and behold, that orange bitch come in 2017
And they
and
gave
fill
him
it.
to
his
me
pick.
that was so unconstitutional.
Yeah.
Right.
So then fast forward to the tail end of Trump's presidency when RBG dies. And so now less than 9 weeks away from the 2020 presidential, you rush through
Mitch
Amy
McConnell.
Coney Barrett. So Trump got 3 Supreme Court picks. No,
So
hypocrites.
yeah. So what you were saying about the mayor wanting them to make sure that the facility was safe. This is what they do in every phase of what they're doing with immigration and deportations. They were chaining people on airplanes if something happened to the airplane, those people
They
could
would
not
die.
reach for their oxygen mask. They could not get into the position,
No.
you know, and they didn't give a fuck if those people
Survived or not.
survived or not. And to the
And-
point where Colombia did not
Yeah,
accept.
they refused the planes. And
Because
see,
they said they were
and
not
but
going to
then you
accept.
putting people on the planes without due process. So these most likely are innocent people.
I guarantee
And
you some
police
people
do
have
this all the
died in
time.
El Salvador in that prison.
And police do this all the time.
All right, so that is it for the briefing room, which was pretty long this week.
There's a lot going on.
And we still didn't cover everything, but we'll get to it. All right, so moving into the next topic, we're talking about Gen Z versus boomers. Cameron. So we don't have a boomer here to defend
No,
themselves.
I'm not a boomer.
So
Boomer
Gen Z,
was the year before me.
Gen Z is rejecting boomer work rules in 5 key ways. So let's talk about the job market and how employers feel about Gen Z versus the other generations.
Well, from what I've read and I've heard from a lot of people, and I'm not saying this is true, but this is what they're saying. Employers feel, and the general consensus is that younger workers don't want to work. I've heard this from numerous people from like different walks of life and different industries.
I have too.
They talk about entitlement, lack
But
of
I don't
soft
agree with it.
skills. I don't.
I mean, maybe. I mean,
what say
considered
you?
what is considered a soft skill? Like talking, like small talk.
Not small talk, but being able to interact with people and, you know.
Well, I would say we talked about this earlier in the show. Like social media
Yeah.
has caused lack of soft skills. I get a lot of surprise from people in older generations when they interact with me and they're like, "Oh, you're like an old soul and you could talk." And
Well, you've always been an old soul.
so I do see that a lot in my generation that we just aren't really approachable.
Why
Maybe.
is that?
I think it's social anxiety.
Oh,
I
okay.
think a lot of people have that, and it's a real thing. And when you put that into the workplace, it becomes a real problem. I don't know what's going on with your mic stand.
Yeah, well, I'm just going to fix it so you can watch me fix my microphone.
So I feel like, I have heard that they say young people don't want to work, but I think the consensus now is, what are we working for?
Yeah.
Because if you want me to show up and do what generations past have done, but not have the same security that those generations had, maybe back in the 70s or the 80s, working at Burger King would get you way more than working at Burger King gets you now.
Well, the cost of living was cheaper.
Yeah.
It's not like you made a whole lot of money working at Burger King, but
But it was
you
at
had
least
a little
worth your
job
while.
when you was a teenager. That's where you went
week's
work.
worth of groceries was what, $20 back then?
It wasn't? What was it?
What year are you referring to?
In the 70s and 80s, what was a week's worth of groceries?
Oh, now I don't know. In the 70s, I was not buying groceries. My mother and father did that.
Oh, okay.
But
We're
I
gonna
know
have to get
when
my
you
grandparents
were
on here.
born, we could go and buy groceries for like $110. And
For the week?
No, for 2 weeks.
Okay. So that was in the 90s.
For 2 weeks. And I would buy you clothes. He was the best dressed little toddler. Try to do that now.
So you would buy clothes from the grocery store?
Well, it wasn't just a grocery store. Remember the real superstore?
No.
That was before Walmart.
Oh, okay.
It was a giant
Lord,
store.
I'm old before Walmart.
It was a giant store.
Don't look like that, Cameron, goddammit.
And they had other things in there besides food. I
I'm
mean,
that old.
John Schwegman had that before there was ever a Walmart, or before they got big like
Well,
they
it
are.
must have been before they was in New Orleans,
Yeah, it was.
not before they existed.
No, I'm sure that Walmart existed up
Okay.
there in Bentonville
Okay.
and surrounding or whatever. But John Schwegman had the superstore on lock before any of those people. At least in New Orleans, he did.
Yeah. So, Fortune had an article. It says Gen Z is rejecting boomer work rules in 5 key ways. Gen Z is breaking the traditional rules and conduct baby boomers have set in place for the workplace over decades. The young professionals are more comfortable with, quote, cheating on the job, wearing comfortable attire, prioritizing their well-being, setting boundaries, look at camera face, and sticking with unfulfilling jobs for career advancement. Gen Z is sick of being told they're, quote, lazy and, quote, entitled. They're upending how the workplace has run for decades under baby boomer leadership, and their elders could learn a thing or two, according to this article.
I remember when I was in my 20s working at a drugstore.
Mm-hmm.
There was somebody really messed up the bathroom. And it wasn't my job, but
They made you have to clean
they
it.
didn't make us do it. But it wasn't like management was rushing in there to do that because it was in the woman's bathroom. So Deidre and I, co-worker and I, went in there and cleaned it. They they told her, go get whatever you need off the shelf and,
Oh, gee, thanks.
gloves. And we did it, but I know there's very few people that would do that these days.
Yeah,
I
because
think
what
the
are you getting
contract
in
between
return?
employers
How
and
are you
employees
treating me?
is different now.
Yeah.
If you're treating me like we are, like, let me backtrack. If I owned a business like that, I would treat the employees like they were, like it was a family, like a small family business. And they would know that they are a part of the success. And I would treat them as such.
We didn't feel like
But
we
they
was a
don't
part of
do
the success.
that.
They treated us like we were criminals, like we was trying to steal stuff.
Yeah.
They went through our bags. They
And millennials and Gen Z is like, you're not going to pay us this little bit of fucking money and then treat us like this.
Yeah.
You want me to clean the bathroom? Then pay me to do that.
So, I still got some more of the article to read.
As somebody who walked too fast in the bathroom at school and slipped and fell and slid up under the urinal.
Oh, fuck no.
Hand touched the baseboard behind the urinal.
What you say last time? E. coli what?
E. coli Bolorona monkeypox. As someone that has happened to, you ain't gonna catch me cleaning no fucking public bathroom. That shit was hard.
Well, that's because somebody wasn't cleaning the shit.
right?
But
They
they
know
said
who
the
they
newest cohort of workers grew up with the classic instructions of the American dream. Go to college, do unpaid internships, then catapult into a job with a living wage. But as college tuition has skyrocketed, household expenses are climbing, and many white-collar jobs are on the fritz. That dream is crushed. So the young workers are adopting a new way of work, and baby boomers are bewildered. Hiring managers are avoiding hiring recent college graduates, and employers are perplexed by the newest cohort of workers. I don't know why I can't say that word. Whoopi Goldberg said that Gen Z and millennials can't afford a home because they, quote, only want to work 4 hours a day. It echoed a similar sentiment from a personal finance guru, Dave Ramsey, that young workers act like a, quote, victim and they're entitled, adding that they just suck. But these older critics slamming young employees could be ratting on the exact behaviors boosting Gen Z's careers.
What you mean by that? Ratting on the exact behaviors, boosting their
I
careers.
don't know. Did I say it right?
No, you said it.
RATTING?
I mean,
I
the
guess
point
that,
about them not settling and prioritizing their well-being, I applaud, because we really didn't do that. You know, I can remember working and having the company change the process for dealing with customers to where the person in my position had to deal with every customer that came through the door, because they wanted us, the sales staff, looking for opportunities. And I can remember not even getting a bathroom break and being so frustrated that I failed a mystery shopper
evaluation or whatever you call it.
Yes. But I was so, I guess, put upon is the word.
Yeah.
That, you know, it's like they just abruptly changed it, and it was implemented immediately. No one, not the manager, anybody had a choice. It came from higher up.
Yeah.
And I just remember just being exhausted, just greeting and talking with and trying to profile and get, you know, sales opportunities from everybody that came into the place. And it was just horrible. So yeah, prioritizing your well-being, because if you don't, some employers, not all, but some will just chew you up and spit you out.
Yeah.
You just a body.
And I do feel like, you know, it's not all roses when you are a business owner, because you know, the buck stops with you.
You work 24/7.
And you basically, you're never off. You know, you have to make sure that everything is done. But at the same time, what are you building? You're building something, but when you're working for someone,
you're building theirs.
You're building their thing, and they're not even appreciating it. And that's why I would never treat my employees like that, because I would recognize the value that they bring and how they're helping me build my dream.
And some companies do value their
Yeah, I'm not going to
employees.
say all companies are bad, but
a lot of them.
Most of them, I would say, at this point, they have that expectation that, well, you should be lucky that you have a job. And that's how they treat you. So, what you say, Cameron, before we move on?
The gall to say that we don't want to work.
Our resident Gen Z here.
When all we fucking want is a life. All we want is to be able to pay our bills and have
a place to stay,
a place to live that's not our parents' house. Have our own space, have our own families. Gen Z and millennials aren't having kids. And it's not because, we just don't want any. It's because, how the fuck are we going to take care of them? We can't take care of ourselves.
And nobody wouldn't want, to put their kids through that.
So how dare you say we only want to work 4 hours a day? No, we want to work. Give us a fucking job. And stop fucking asking us to make ends meet with chump change. The cost of living vastly outweighs the average salary. So how can you expect me to make it on what you're offering me and still do all of this shit that you want me to do and then go home to have and eat ramen noodles?
And then come back the next day
and then
and
come
smile.
back the next day and smile. And then you get mad if I go find a second job because you want all of my attention and time. Okay, well then pay me, motherfucker.
But see, that's the problem of the system that I think we're going to have a real problem in short order, is because in a lot of instances, unless they severely cut back on the amount of money they're giving to their shareholders, they don't have the money to pay more. They're going to have to raise prices, which will make the cost of living way more unaffordable. And it's just going to cause a crash. And everybody can't be an influencer, a rapper, a business owner.
Athlete.
Somebody got to work at your local grocery store, or we won't have the basic creature comforts of the society that we enjoy today.
Which is why I don't understand why they're trying to deport 11 million people.
Well, that's
they
just
the
all
ones doing
racism.
Those jobs that the white people don't want to do.
And they don't think about this shit. They're not sitting here thinking about this like we thinking about it. Then I don't think they have, what's the term? Cogent thought in their head.
And the problem is that you damn, I'm losing my train of thought.
The problem is.
Fuck, I hate when that happens. I hate when that happens.
It happens to a lot of people.
Well,
And then watch as soon as we move on.
while you chew on that, let's go on to to Block 5. Here's some famous failures that I wanted to share with y'all, just to give y'all a little bit of motivation.
Yeah, because this show is about, are you a failure? No, you're not.
You're not a failure. Keep on pushing through. Whatever your dream is, even if you're stuck at one of them damn jobs that's making you clean the toilets and telling you, don't worry about it, go get something off the shelf. We won't take it out your check.
You won't take it out my check? Oh, thank you. But guess what? I'm taking this shit home.
That would be stealing.
You said I can have it?
No, they said that you could have it to clean.
Cameron, that's so damn ghetto.
That's so Gen Z.
You can take...
All right.
I can't. I shouldn't say that.
No, don't say that.
All right. So Stephen King lived in a trailer and worked as a janitor while trying to get his first book, Carrie, published. It was rejected 30 times. J.K. Rowling was a single mother on welfare when she wrote Harry Potter. The manuscript was rejected by numerous publishers before finally being published. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team. Imagine that. He used that failure as motivation and drive and is one of the greatest players to ever play the game. So if that's not enough motivation to keep going, I know when we see things like this, we might think, well, that was them. And, you know, I might not be as lucky. But you make your own luck.
Yeah.
You make your own luck. And that's been a hard lesson for me to learn. I've had a lot of failures that eventually I'll talk about. I ain't gonna talk about them today, probably because this show is too long as it is.
Yeah, but it's not what happens to you in life, it's how you react to it.
Yeah.
And so lots of people, like you just said, have had
Yeah.
rocky starts.
So society really makes us feel like we can't achieve. And when I say society, I'm talking about like the norms and then just the negativity. You'll be surprised how important your energy is and the energy that you keep around you.
Right.
And y'all, it's crazy to believe now that I just turned 31. I was so depressed as I was turning 30 because I was like, look at everything that I had wanted to accomplish in my 20s. And I was kind of negative about what I hadn't accomplished, totally glancing over the things that I did accomplish. And then right as I decided to do something I had wanted to do for years for my 30th birthday, a few months later, I lost my dad. So this year, I really didn't do much of anything for my birthday. Because I've been so focused, you know, that was leading up to us premiering Pragmotiv. And I was just working. And I felt discouraged because I just feel broken in certain instances because things aren't working the way that I want them to. But I'm learning that I need to stop trying to plan every single moment. And that's a challenge for me because I'm a
Want to
planner.
make God laugh?
So, social media just showed, it teaches us that, everything has to happen in your 20s. That's what you see. You see rappers making it in their 20s. You see people, on NBA teams getting in the NFL. It's all happening in their 20s. By the time they 30, you view 30s as, oh, you should have a wife by now.
what
You
did
should
Steph
have
Curry
career.
In his, when he was 12 and 13 and 14, 15, all up to him getting into the NBA, all of
You
those
work at
endless days and nights.
that's what they don't report
Yeah.
on. You don't hear about that. We just see things and we think that things should be instant gratification, like we was talking about earlier, or that if you just decide to do something, that it's just going to happen. And now that I've crossed into this new decade of my life, I'm realizing that, it does really take work. And I don't want to miscategorize the things that I did in my 20s because I worked my ass off. But you have to be strategic in how you do things. So it's not enough just to get up and do the work. You got to make sure you're working smart and not just hard.
Mm-hmm.
So you could change your life at any age. Don't make that mistake and don't feel like, oh, I'm too old to do this, or my peers did this at this age and I'm at this age and I didn't do it yet, so I must be a failure. You're not a failure.
No, you're not.
Yeah, and even though we talk about a lot of things, on this program that are troubling, like all of the things that are going on right now in the news, there's still hope. There's still a chance. There's always hope. There's always a chance to turn things around, to get to where you're trying to go. You just have to stay the course and keep the faith.
Yep. All right. So now we're going into Warrior of the Week. So
Yeah, we didn't do this one last week, did we?
No. And sometimes, guys, we may not have a warrior or a clown of the week. I'm not going to sit here and tell y'all that every week we're going to have one because we don't want it to feel forced.
Right.
So we're not going to look for somebody to be a clown of the week if they didn't really earn it. So if you clown of the week, your ass earned that shit. And if you're warrior of the week, you earned it. So this week, the warrior of the week, we have 3 people. And yes, we could do that because it's our show.
And what?
Our warriors of the week is Bonnie Watson Coleman, Robert Menendez Jr., and LaMonica McIver. These are the Democrat Congress people from the state of New Jersey.
New Jersey.
These are the members who tried to shield the Newark mayor from ICE's unlawful arrest.
Right, because they arrested that man, Ross Baraka, the mayor of Newark, when he was on the public sidewalk.
Yeah.
After they asked him to leave, there's video.
And he
After
complied.
they asked him to leave and he complied, they got on the phone with somebody. I don't know who, because all of the top brass for the ICE office for that area was there on site. So who were you talking to? And then they decided to arrest him. And so Bonnie Watson Coleman, Robert Menendez Jr., and LaMonica McIver, and amongst other people, they all crowded around him to try to shield him from this unlawful arrest.
Yeah.
So they are the warriors of the week.
And I'm sorry, go ahead.
Getting in good trouble.
Yeah. Are they even cops? Because it's such a gray area.
The
With
ICE?
Yeah.
I don't know. The jurisdiction.
I really
I
don't
don't
know
know.
if they have jurisdiction to arrest the mayor of a city. I know they have jurisdiction to arrest the people they're going after because
Like,
they supposed to have warrants.
Where
But
they took him?
they took him, I don't really know. But he was released several hours later because, of course,
It was
he
a
did
publicity
nothing wrong.
stunt.
Yes.
And
It
that's what they're
was-
trying to do so that they could
Try to intimidate
put
people.
put a chilling effect out there to say,
Oh,
well,
don't
if
mess
other
with us
mayors,
because this would have happened to you.
Yeah. But my message to people is don't be scared.
I ain't
Please
scared.
don't
Stand
be
up.
scared. So one thing that we talk about how we try to make sure we plan the show out so that we can move smoothly, to give the information to you guys clearly and concisely, because we want to respect you guys' time, even though this is a podcast. So one thing I had to glance over earlier because we was taking a little longer, but now I'm going to have to bring it back in because it coincides with the clown of the week, is the White House. This is from The Hill, so I'm going to quickly go over it. The White House is actively looking at suspending habeas corpus in its immigration crackdown. The White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller said Friday that Donald Trump and his team are actively looking at suspending habeas corpus as part of the administration's immigration crackdown. So, our clown of the week is Stephen Miller for even contemplating undermining the fundamental American right to due process.
Not a privilege,
All right.
knucklehead.
Yes.
It is a right guaranteed by the Constitution.
And we covered
He said that it
due
was a
process last time.
privilege. It's not a privilege.
No. And I refuse to believe that, they're just ignorant and they don't know what it really is. No, they know exactly what they're saying.
Exactly what they're
And they
doing.
know what they're doing. And it's up to us citizens to not allow this.
To fight it back, to fight back.
Because
hold
if
them
you allow
accountable.
them to take due process away from people who it's their right, then it's your right too.
That they're taking away.
And they're going to take it away from you too.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to move from, we're taking your right away to due process because we suspect you're here illegally, to we're taking your right away for due process for,
Speaking ill of the
I was trying to think of the word character assassination or something like that. Anything that they could sue you for.
right.
So this is un-American. So un-American.
Right.
That is unacceptable. All right, guys. So thank y'all for watching, especially if you got to the end of the show. Don't forget to follow us on all our socials at Pragmotiv. We're everywhere. Visit our website, pragmotiv.com, to find even more ways to connect with us and more ways you could watch and listen. And you could also subscribe to get our bonus episodes and bonus content over at pragmotivplus.com. We appreciate all of you. And until next time, peace.
See you on the next show.